It is good to see everyone here this evening. Looks like we have a number missing this evening. Tim just mentioned that Laura Stevens has tested positive for COVID, and as a result of that, Brian and Megan are quarantining, so they're not with us this evening unless they're with us online. And if you are joining us online, you are welcome. We are glad that you've chosen to be here. I'm glad to see all of you here and appreciate your attendance. I would add to the prayer list my cousin, Wesley Wright. Wesley is a traveling nurse scheduler and travels as part of that job, and was found unresponsive yesterday morning in his RV. He travels in his own RV. And since then, he is now responsive. First diagnosed with meningitis, then diagnosed with some sort of exercise-related extreme reaction to something, and then came in just, I got the news just before we came in, and have diagnosed a brain tumor. Wesley is almost 30, so he is a young man. They are not giving a lot of helpful information in the process, but in the doctor's defense, it is early in the process and kind of a difficult thing to diagnose. So my cousin Wesley Wright, if you would keep him and his family in your prayers. His mother and sister traveled out, I think, to Oklahoma, where he was on job assignment, and they are trying to figure out next steps. So please keep that family in your prayers. If I understand the quarter teaching schedule correctly, this is actually our last night of Bible geography. So we're going to try to finish up Jerusalem. That's probably not going to happen based on the amount of information that I would like to cover. Jennifer will tell you that I quite often take a lot longer to finish a class than I actually intend. So let's jump in. I still want it to be a conversation. If we get through one slide and that's all we make, because we've had a good conversation, that's fine. But let's just dive right in. We're looking at an artist rendering of a temple in Jerusalem. Do you remember from last time which temple this is? The one in Jerusalem. I can always count on Tim for some of the most helpful answers. The first temple, Solomon's temple, is what we're looking at. And remember, we've talked about it several times, artist renderings are just that, one person's interpretation of what the Bible says and how that might look visually. I did not find major glaring issues with this that would cause me to avoid showing it. There are a lot of recreations that I think are fantasy as opposed to interpretation. So this one is probably the most accurate that I've been able to find. And what we've been talking about is Jerusalem. We're looking now at the expanded version. And by expanded, specifically, we're talking about the fact that the city of David, which was the first incarnation or the early incarnation of Jerusalem, by the time Solomon is ruling, has grown quite a bit. A little bit more than double its size, and by this point, accounts suggest that there are not settlements, but residences outside of the official city as well. So by this point, Jerusalem has grown quite a bit, and we will notice right here the temple. We talked about it last time. We've talked about it several times. Jerusalem is actually own tablelands, basically the fairly flattened out space between two peaks, specifically in this case Mount Moriah, where the temple is, and then Mount Zion to the south in this particular map. If you will, turn to Nehemiah chapter 2. We're going to begin in verse 11. Nehemiah chapter 2, beginning in verse 11. So I came to Jerusalem and was there 3 days. Then I arose in the night, I and a few men with me. I told no one what my God had put in my heart to do at Jerusalem, nor was there any animal with me except the one on which I rode. And I went out by night through the valley gate to the serpent well and the refuse gate, and viewed the walls of Jerusalem which were broken down, and its gates which were burned with fire. Then I went on to the fountain gate and to the king's pool, but there was no room for the animal under me to pass. So I went up in the night by the valley and viewed the wall. Then I turned back and entered by the valley gate, and so returned. And the officials did not know where I had gone or what I had done. I had not yet told the Jews, the priests, the nobles, the officials, or the others who did the work. Then I said to them, "You see the distress that we are in, how Jerusalem lies in waste, and its gates are burned with fire. Come and let us build the wall of Jerusalem, that we may no longer be a reproach." And I told them of the hand of my God, which had been good upon me, and also of the king's words that he had spoken to me. So they said, "Let us rise up and build." Then they set their hands to this good work. What are we talking about here? What is that passage discussing?